Google, should you kill your protagonist? 2,300,000 results. Is it ever okay to kill your protagonist? Is it bad to kill the protagonist? Should you ever kill off your protagonist? Killing the protagonist, I would kill important secondaries, but killing my protagonist is just something I would never do to my readers. You should never kill your protagonist. Don't ever kill your protagonist for shock value. My goodness, that's a lot of opinions.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
As we heard, there are a lot of results that talk about the topic of killing off the main character in your book. So let's have a look at what the theory has to say. If you want to understand how it happens, you've got to go right back to its roots. The story of a tragic hero is as old as time itself. So it's pretty common to give credit to Aristotle for coming up with the idea, or at least naming it, in around 350 BC. But the story type has been around for way longer than that. The basic components are this. You have a main character. They exhibit all the flaws and characteristics of a living human being. These flaws cause this character to unwittingly and perhaps unavoidably make a mistake that will have drastic consequences, and then the character dies instead of accomplishing the goal. Those are the components of a tragic hero. So it's important to understand that a tragic hero never dies just because. It's always their own fault, even if it isn't clear at the time. It's the idea that your actions will catch up with you one day, okay? It's like a fictional karma, but a very real and deliberate one. If you do something that leads to suffering, no matter how accidental, you have to suffer yourself for it later on, and in the form of being killed, unfortunately. This mistake that the character makes, and the flaws that lead to it, they were given a name by Aristotle. It was, the internet assures me it's pronounced hamartia, but I'm going to pronounce it hamartia because that's the way it looks to me. It's a word, basically it means like ignorant or mistaken or accidental, and someone defined it in my favorite way actually, which was meaning to miss the mark, which is just about perfect. So these are the rules of tragedy, okay? People might not be conscious of them while they're reading, but they still register these things. They will still register a tragic mistake early on in the story, which will subconsciously prepare them for the death of that character later. If they don't see that, that's when you start seeing audiences and readers start to get annoyed. Which is why you see a lot of advice from people saying things like, never kill off a character for shock value alone. What this really means is don't kill a character for no reason. The audience won't be expecting it because there's been no build-up. They haven't had the chance to subconsciously register that tragic mistake, which is going to see them through to the end of the story, and accept when this death happens. It's a rude shock when it happens in that case. In the same way that being like served a bowl of hot mercury and angry vipers at the end of a really delicious 3-course meal would sort of put you off a bit. It's an unwelcome turn of events, I hope. So here's the thing though, very few writers ever actually kill off a character just for shock. In fact, there's one extremely common reason why the main character dies these days. Every culture sort of lives under the combined cultural influences that have brought us to this point. And for us in the West, one of the biggest ones, of course, has been the dominant religion of the past, which is Christianity. And the Bible is single-handedly responsible for our love of a particular type of main character death, which is the Christ-like martyr. This is different to a straight-up tragic hero's death, okay? The Christ-like martyr does two things differently. Firstly, their death is the way that they accomplish their goal, okay? Dying is the point. By dying, they win. The tragic hero dies instead of winning, okay? So they might accomplish something else in the process, or they might allow another character to win, but they don't accomplish what they set out to do. Their own flaws and mistakes pull them up short of that, and that's what makes them tragic. The other different thing is that the Christ-like martyr rises from the dead. they don't stay dead. They're never really dead, or they were just tricking people into thinking they were dead, or it was part of the plan all along, or everyone just assumed that he was asleep. Often when they arise as well, they are more powerful and generally just better than before they died. A tragic hero, though, he dies. And when he does, that's the end of the story. There's very, very little epilogue to show what happens after that. When the tragic hero dies, that's the end of the story. What happens after that? We know as much as the main character does. Nothing. They're dead. So that's a basic rundown of the rules of tragedy. The Google searches that will sagely inform you that you should never kill your main character are wrong. The people who tell you never to do it for shock value, what they're really saying is follow the rules. Do the groundwork. Put in the effort. Of course you can kill your protagonist. I wish more authors would. You've just got to do it right.